editor Sophie Mokoena. They spoke at length about the role Fidel Castro played in helping a number of African countries during their liberation struggles.
Fidel Castro, 1926 to 2016. What a life, what a legacy that will probably be debated for decades to come. Of course, having an impact not only here in Cuba, but certainly in this region, particularly with a much larger country to the north, the United States of America, but also forays into Africa. Who can forget his impact, sending Cuban soldiers to Angola, the impact that would have on Namibian independence, on the revolution, if you want to call it that, the struggle in South Africa under the African National Congress that would later get into government. I am now joined by SABC News' foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, good to see you. An important moment, certainly for Cuban people, but an important moment for people around the world.
Yes, indeed, on international stage, this is a historic moment, a new era. A man who fought very hard to ensure that he contributes towards the liberation of the frontline state, in particular on the SADC region, as you have mentioned, Angola, Namibia, South Africa, and indeed a friend to all the African governments and also the people on the continent.
You had a very interesting discussion. I mean, let's move away from Africa sort of to this region with Dr. Bladen Zamande, the General Secretary of the SACP. What did he tell you?
Well, I spoke to him yesterday and my question was around the relations between US and Cuba. He raised the concern that because of the current rhetoric from Donald Trump, it looks like those relations will be affected. He indicated that President Obama had done very well to try and rekindle the relations,
right.
But the message from the US currently, it's not promising. The president-elect saying that he's likely to review the relationship, but also when President Castro passed on Twitter, what he wrote was not kind of something that a statesman would do at any moment.
I think what he said was Fidel Castro, in very short terms, Fidel Castro is dead. And many people around the world feeling that this wasn't really presidential, correct?
Yes, indeed. Many people saying it wasn't presidential. I spoke to the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, immediately after the passing on of President Castro, him saying that indeed President Obama did very well to try and mend the relations.
I was chatting to a professor in New York before I came here, a Cuban-American author, and he was talking about, I asked him, so what is Fidel Castro's legacy going to be? And he said, you know, it's uncertain at this point because this idea of Cuba is about to change fundamentally due to the opening of Cuba to the rest of the world. This is a country, Sophie, that is very much in transition, not so?
Yes, true. It's in transition, and as the current president has indicated, he will not seek re-election, and therefore a new young leader coming, I think he is going to come with new ideas, new approach, and perhaps tampering with policies here and there because the world has changed.
Sophie Mokoena, our foreign editor on the ground here with me in Havana, Cuba. Of course, the focus on the burial of those ashes that have snaked their way across this island in Santiago, Cuba. It's back to our friends in Johannesburg.
And South Africa's growing relationship also took center